Hello everyone, my name is Griffin and we are back with another reaction video. We are reacting to another one of Isaac Butterfield's videos. This one is called These Anti-White TikToks Are Crazy. Now I think any sort of group that is anti anything that deals with the color of someone's skin, I believe is completely fucking stupid. I mean, despite what people may believe, it is a racist group. And for those who say, no, you can't be racist towards white people, you need to get your fucking brain checked. Because yes, you can. Being racist means discriminating somebody based on the color of their skin. And newsflash, white people are considered a race. So discriminating against people with the who are white is still considered racist. So yeah. So any anti-black, anti-white, anti-brown, any sort of anti-group like that that deals with the color of someone's skin, I'm sorry, they're smooth-brained as hell. But let's check this video out, shall we?
In our modern world, it is very, very common for everybody to be against racism, right? And that's such a wonderful thing. But unfortunately, there's one type of racism that just continues and no one tries to put a stop to it because everyone argues that it's not actually real. And that is racism against white people. Some people may say that you can't do that. You can't be racist towards white people, but maybe this is just a crazy opinion on my behalf, but
There was something Morgan Freeman said a long time ago, that basically racism would disappear if everybody just stopped talking about it. If everybody just stopped just judging and talking about people based on the color of their skin, racism would probably disappear within a couple generations. The only reason it still exists is because there are people out there who are from an older generation that grew up with in a time where racism was more prevalent than it is now. And they have had kids, and they have they have raised their kids with their idiotic ideals and beliefs and the way they view the world, and so they have passed on their racism to their kids. So it's the only reason it still exists is because it keeps getting taught to their kids and people keep fucking talking about it. That's the only reason racism exists at all. Despite what people believe, somebody with different colored skin, the color of somebody's skin does not affect in any way, shape, or form any sort of aspect of who they are and how they go about their life. The only reason different colored skin even exists is because hundreds of thousands of years ago, the human race migrated to different parts of the world. Now, if the human race consistently stayed in one part of the world, even to this day, and didn't migrate anywhere, we would all be of one colored skin. So, yeah, it's just the color of somebody's skin has nothing to do with any sort of aspect of who they are or how they go about their daily life. It's just because of evolution. So,
but I feel judging anyone on the color of their skin is just horrible, and you should never do it, including white people. And one of the breeding grounds for this type of absolute shit and this terrible way to live your life is TikTok. And that's what we're going to venture into today, ladies and gentlemen. So strap yourself in. It's time to realize why you're a bad person if you have white skin.
Do you think all white people are inherently racist?
Yes.
That's harsh.
I do not.
Thank you.
One's born racist, but I do think that you have biases that you have to consciously work to unlearn because you're white in America.
So you're at fault just because of the color of your skin.
Let's go back and hear what you said.
Thank you.
One's born racist, but I do think that
Yeah, right there. Nobody is born racist. Nobody is born with hate. Nobody is born with any sort of vitriol. Or nobody's born prejudiced, sexist, or any sort of ist or isms at all. The only reason anybody has any sort of hate or any sort of those other things is it is because it has been instilled into them, either by their parents or the environment that they are around when they are at schools or other hangout spots. It is the only reason that anybody has it instilled into them, is because of the environment that they grew up in.
that you have biases that you have to consciously work to unlearn.
And that is the other thing. You have to realize that this stuff has been instilled into you, and you have to be self-aware enough to know that to think that, hey, this is bad. Maybe I should start to unlearn this stuff. And while it is not the easiest thing to do, it is the morally right thing to do, is to unlearn your dumbass biases. And the only thing anybody at all in any point in time that anybody should be judged on is the content of one's character. That is the only thing any human being should ever be judged on. You should not be judged on anything else but the content of your character.
Because you're white in America.
So you're at fault just because of the color of your skin.
Depends on how you were raised and if white people are, like, if you're not ignorant to the privilege that you have as a white person.
We all have.
Okay. Just because somebody is of a certain skin color doesn't mean that they are more or less privileged than the person of the opposing skin color or whatever. Just because I'm white doesn't mean I'm more privileged than any other race in the world. It's it's all about choice. Whether you choose to rise above the sort of environment you were born into or that you're around, or you choose to do nothing and fail. Rise above everything or do nothing and fail. It's all about choice. It's not about privilege.
Have privilege. Everyone has privilege. If you're not sick, you're privileged. If you're not depressed, you're privileged. If you're white, maybe you're privileged over some people, but not everyone.
I'm not going to blame every white person or assume that, they're all racist.
Good. That's a fucking spot on attitude, because a lot of white people are racist, but a lot of white people are not racist. A lot of black people are racist. A lot of black people are not racist, etc., etc.
Every race has a racist in it.
That's right. It's just case by case.
Most white people enable racism, even if they're not blatantly racist towards minorities.
It's a lot of these things you hear. I know it's probably not the majority of people that think it, but to think that so many people do have this sort of mindset really goes to show just how much parenting and the school system both have severely failed our youths.
So just by existing, you're a racist. That's fucking ridiculous. But whatever. That's just that is the overarching opinion of a lot of people on social media, that you are racist no matter what if you happen to have white skin.
So like in Australia, the white parliament.
Australian government policy is always racist. The Voice. Oppressive. They want to restrict the right of protest or capitalist banning of vapes. Who the fuck cares about if they ban vapes or not? You shouldn't be doing that shit anyways. And I don't really know about Australian government. I don't live in Australia. I live here in America. I don't I don't think government nowadays is inherently racist. There may be a few racist politicians in government bodies, but overall the government body itself I don't think is racist. and they're not trying to be racist, even though there are some people who, for some weird ass reason, interpret what they do as being racist. Now, can government be oppressive? I would be ignorant in saying that they're not.
Is trying really hard to ban vapes. The main reason the government wants to ban vapes is...
Okay, so people smoking vapes. Okay, so the white government wants to ban vapes.
Because they can't apply a tax on vapes.
Why can't you tax vapes? Don't know the answer to that, but okay.
In the same way that they have taxes on tobacco. And they keep trying to advertise it as like a kind of, we're trying to like remove toxic chemicals from children. But I'm pretty sure the more honest take on what the government is really doing is quite literally just trying to maintain their power and grip amongst the trades of like goods and services.
What has this got to do with white people? Why is this
that
white
they can
government
profit off? And they can't profit off vapes.
Okay.
One sort of like silver lining to this is that Gen Z has been low-key fucked over. And it's like honestly nice to see like a lot of white Gen Z kids talking about racism.
Can somebody explain to me? I mean, I don't really have a problem. I've been wondering this for a long ass time. Why is it that everywhere else in the world except America pronounces the letter Z as if it's a word? I'm genuinely curious about that because it's a letter, it's not a word. So why is the letter Z the only letter in the alphabet that y'all pronounce it as a word and not a letter?
And acknowledging that white people can't be victims of racism.
They say that because they're terrified of getting in trouble or getting kicked out of this.
It's because white people can be victims of racism. Because they have been victims of racism. And to say that they haven't or can't is just intellectually ignorant and stupid.
School, or they're losing their job, or getting cancelled on the internet. I guarantee they don't believe that. Like, they want to talk about racism and they think racism's terrible. But I guarantee that if you ask them, if you allowed them to anonymously tell you, do you think it's okay to be racist against people who have white skin? Most of them, I think, if you could say it anonymously, would say no, just don't be racist to anyone.
Because they know that racism is a systemic outcome of white supremacy ideology.
You can say anything and nod. It doesn't mean you're right.
And that like every single country that is a victim of like white colonization has a white parliament in place. And they pretty much just like perpetuate a lot of propaganda, cultural attitudes, ideas.
What has this got to do with vapes? Okay. And by the way, there's a lot of Aboriginal people in Australia, native Australians, in Parliament. And look, in America, there's plenty of black people in government, politics, Congress. In the UK, it's the same. So how is it a white Parliament here? What does that say to all of the people who happen to be black or Indian or any other colour that happen to be in Parliament?
White people being the kind of norm, and that every other colour...
Well, white people are the norm in a lot of countries.
Here's another question. Why are there two different ways to spell color? Why does one of them have a U and the other one doesn't? Is it just like I mean, is there really no difference? Is it just because one place spells it different? I don't know.
Countries, because they're the majority, not in Middle Eastern countries or African countries or Asian countries, but in 3 countries that we're talking about, I guess, then they are the norm because that's where most white people come from. And in Australia, obviously, it's a different sort of thing. A lot of white people got sent out here.
It's such a fucking, like, stab and twist of the knife when white people do this. It's like, are you not aware?
I always find it really stupid that there are people like this who have access to technology because they spout their idiocy without genuinely looking up stuff and doing research and thinking logically. I mean, when you look stuff up on the internet, you have to be careful of your sources because there are people who cherry pick data. I almost said data. I'm just so used to hearing that. There are people who cherry pick data to fit their narrative because it goes against what they believe. So in order to have people believe what they want them to believe, they have to cherry pick data. So if you do your research on the internet, make sure that the information you find is corroborated across the board. Because if it's not, then it's probably not true. But if you're going to spout stuff about the government, about laws, about history, about any sort of thing, make sure you do your research first, or you just become one of these sort of people who just spout what they believe, what they think, without any sort of logical thinking behind it.
Of your own fucking cultural lineage, the history of white people, colonization.
Yeah, colonization was horrible, but there's also a lot of lineage in every single ethnicity group that is horrible. I mean, you can't blame people for shit that they didn't do. Native Australians, Aboriginal Australians, were treated like absolute shit for a long, long time, and that's not okay. It's not okay at all. But can you blame me for that? No. Or my offspring, or my parents? No. Or the people around us? No. You can blame certain people, and maybe your hatred is to the government of the day. Fair enough. But blaming all white people? It's a racist attitude. Because if the roles were reversed and I blamed all black people for something, I'd be a piece of shit. Right?
But then
Oh, he would be raked across the coals all over the fucking internet. When it comes to this stuff, you can't really say all of one race, because you also have to think, how would it sound if the roles were reversed? Like, if she's blaming all white people for stupid shit. How would it sound if the white person was in her shoes and the white person started blaming black people or brown people for all their problems? The white person's ass would get blown the fuck up, and he would get canceled within seconds. But since it's somebody of color blaming white people, for some reason it's okay and it's not seen as racist. Do you see how illogical that is and how stupid that sounds? You can't look at it. You can't have tunnel vision on this stuff. You have to look at a broader perspective. You can't look it through one person's eyes. You have to... You just don't sound like a fucking ignorant dumbass.
Then white people like to shoot us down and label us as like people suffering from like victim complexes.
That video goes on for another like 45 seconds, and not once does she answer the questions why banning vapes was racist. I feel like you should answer that question.
It's like politicians. They don't ever stay on fucking topic. You ask them a question, they go off the rails within 2 seconds. You have to keep asking them the same question until they fucking answer it.
Okay, what's happening here? This is from Libs of TikTok. Unhinged anti-white racist screams at people inside a Dallas, Texas restaurant, calling them white privileged motherfuckers who never worked for a goddamn thing. Okay.
If they never worked for a thing, they wouldn't have money. And if they wouldn't have money, how are they going into these restaurants? Because in order to get money, you have to work for it. In order for them to have the clothes on their back, they had to work for it in order to pay for it. So how do they not work for a goddamn thing again? These protesters and these sort of people, they don't understand. Most of them don't understand the cause they're getting behind. They just see a bunch of people in this group shouting about one thing, and they just say, oh, maybe I should jump on this bandwagon. They do this like they're just drones. They don't have a mind for themselves. It's just they see a giant group and they join the giant group and they shout out the same shit they're spewing. And they don't understand what the cause is for. And for the people who start the protest, they think that in order to get results from their protests. They have to disrupt the lives of every single person around them. And that is not an effective way to protest. All you're doing is pissing people off and driving them away from your cause and annoying the ever-living shit out of them. If you want to protest, find a way that you can protest that catches people's attention and makes them think, oh, maybe I should check this out, see if it's for me. But all you're doing is like the oil protesters who glue their fucking hands to the freeway or go protest in the road and get surprised when they almost get run over. Hello, your dumbass is in the middle of a road where cars are going 40 plus miles an hour. And your ass almost gets hit and sent off into the underworld. Every year I think that people get further and further away from logically thinking. It's fine if you want to think with your emotions, but make sure you also have some logic behind your decisions. Otherwise, you just look like some crazy dumbass like this dumb bitch.
They ruined my fucking life!
Oh.
I put in a condominium! White privilege! Fuck you, fucking snowflakes!
What a weird... This is what happens because of things like TikTok. People are brought into this ideology and this religion where they need to... Well, they have an enemy. They have the Satan or the devil. In this case, it's white people. You need to go out there and attack them.
Yeah, and the other thing is there are just some people who can't live their lives peacefully. It's like they have this urge, this need for drama. It's just like they can't... They've had drama so much throughout their lives that it's like an addiction, like smoking or drinking or candy or whatever. They need this fix of drama because they've had it for so long that as soon as it's gone and they have, peace is coming through their lives and they start having this withdrawal, they're shaking, they're starting to get antsy, they're going insane, so they need to start some drama. It's like those kind of people. It's just, I don't understand why there are some people who can't just calm down and go about their lives peacefully. Why do you need drama? Why do you have to start drama? Why do you have to stress out? Why do you have to stress other people out? You're going to die early if you keep stressing yourself up, but you're going to have a stress-induced heart attack one day or a stroke. Calm down, people. Life may be hard, but it's not to the point where you need drama 24/7.
Because they're... Well, who's to blame for everything that's wrong in your life? Dude. I think a lot of that is cultural, and I don't mean black people culture, I mean woke culture. That is something that just happens now. You get all these people who are obviously mentally ill going and screaming and yelling, and it happens a lot across a lot of different activists. I think it's just something to do with being an activist, whatever activist you want to be, whether it's a vegan activist or a feminist or a woke activist, whatever. You just love screaming at people and blaming everyone else for all your problems. Here's the fucking hot tip, babe. Not one of those people in those restaurants did anything to you ever.
Here's another piece of advice for you protesters out there. A lot of these people don't mind that you want to protest, but you are really going about it in a dangerous way. Especially, going into these restaurants or getting in these people's faces. You have to understand that not every single person in the world is mentally stable. There are people where if you push it just a little too much, they will break your face across their fist, or they'll attack you with some sort of weapon, be it a stick, pipe, knife, gun. Hell, they might suplex you through a fucking window. That's why I think people, like I said, people need to protest more peacefully. You can't go about it in these crazy woke agenda ways. You're gonna come across people where you will annoy them to the point where they'll say, fuck it, I'm gonna drop this bitch. And they're gonna come up to you and knock your lights out. So, if you're gonna protest, be careful about how you protest. Because like I said, not everybody has the patience. Not everybody is mentally stable.
Ever. Okay, so we're in the middle of the video. What do these attitudes and this way of thinking about white people actually do? Well, it changes the corporate landscape. It changes how people get jobs. It changes how people live their lives. Corporate America pledged to hire more people of color, and it did. The year after Black Lives Matter.
Okay, here's another thing I hate that people do. I don't mind if places want to hire people of color. I don't mind that at all. That's fine. But if you're hiring the person just because they are a person of color, then you're a fucking dumbass business. If that is the only criteria, is that you have to either be a woman or a person of color. That is not how you go about making a better business. You need to hire the people that is the best fit for the position you are hiring for. Now, if the person happens to be white and they are the best fit for the job, then hire that person. But if the person happens to be of a person of color and they fit that job better than the white person, then yes, hire the person of color. But don't, for the love of God, don't hire a person just because they are either a woman or a person of color or any combination thereof. That is a quick way for you to kill your business, because the people you're hiring probably won't be a good fit for the position if the only criteria for being hired is being a woman or a person of color or any combination thereof. That is a dumbass way to go about it.
Protest the
And any person of business who's actually smart about how they hire will agree with me.
S&P 100 added more than 300,000 jobs. 94% of them went to people of color. Now, is that a good thing? Maybe for the people of color, but I tell you who it's not a good thing for, the white people who didn't get the jobs. And you might be thinking, well, white people have had jobs for forever. And well, not these white people. Just hire the best people for the job. If you are a black person, a brown person, a white person, you should get the job if you're the best candidate, not because of the color of your skin. And I guarantee you this, anyone who has the ability to think logically and critically, no one wants to get picked for something just because of the color of their skin or their sex or their gender ideologies. Or their sexual preferences. You don't want to be picked because of that. That is pity, that is shit, and that is not a good way to live your life.
Comedian Tyler Fisher claims he has been turned down by 3 agencies because they said they just weren't looking for white men.
Do you think it was justified?
Hey, I can relate to that. Back when I first started doing comedy, people were upset because I would put on comedy shows and I'd only have white men in the lineup. And I recently had a mate of mine send me a photo last night, actually, send me a screenshot of a comedy show he was putting on that just happened to have 5 white dudes in it. And this lady was upset about that. Well, here's the thing. A lot of white comedians have white comedian friends, okay? And sometimes the lineups just don't always happen to have one person who's a different color and one different gender. It just doesn't line up like that always. When I was running comedy shows, I would just pick the best people that were available at the time. There was the less amount of work. Sometimes that was all white people. Sometimes that was all men. Sometimes it was a brown person, a black person, a woman, Christ, an older person, a person with a disability. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. Who gives a shit? And the other way to look at that is if you're a white person in comedy, you shouldn't be given opportunities because there's been too many white people in comedy. And that's shit too. Once again, we just want the best people for the job. And that's why you go on Netflix right now and you see so many comedy specials that are just shit and the people are only in that special, usually some sort of different gender to me. They only have that comedy special because they are that different gender. And that's pretty sad.
Justified for me to be told, we can't represent you. You don't have the chance to now compete for jobs because you're white.
How's that fair?
Is it a policy, like, explicit that they're not taking on any, like, white men, or is it, like, case by case?
On-camera talent, stand-up, probably not, no.
That's crazy.
Okay, so no white men are allowed for on-camera stuff.
I guess it's right now where it's...
It's funny because it's not just comedy that this happens. You see it on any streaming platform or movies now. In the cast, say there's 5 people. There has to be a woman. There has to be a person of color. There has to be someone with a disability. There has to be like one.
Yeah, I've heard about it many times when it comes to shows and movies in Hollywood, that they're trying to get more women, more people of color, more women of color into acting roles. Now, when it comes to like, you know, historical, like if you want to be historically accurate or lore accurate, and the main character or the hero or whoever the character of the show or movie is, if that is a person of color, if that is a woman, if that is a woman of color, then yes, find the person that fits the description but also is the best fit for that role. Now, if it's just in general, don't put somebody in the role just because they are a woman or a person of color or any combination thereof, just to fit the narrative of the woke culture so you don't get attacked or canceled or whatever. Who gives a shit what they think? If just find the person who's the best fit for the role. If that just happens to be a white man, then hire him because he is the best fit for the role. That's why you see a lot of movies and shows flop, is because they didn't cast the right person for the role, the best person for the role. They just put somebody in the role to fit, you know, some sort of woke culture ideal or whatever, some bullshit. And they're pushing a narrative into a movie or a show. Doing all this sort of stuff will kill the show or the movie. Just do better.
One older person that you have to fill all these quotas. Disney released it not too long ago with their diversity quotas that you had to have this and you had to have this, and in this department, why don't you just pick the best people for the job? The cream will rise to the top. You'll make the best movies, the best TV shows, the best comedy specials if you allow the best people to rise to the top. And if you don't, and you just rely on diversity and all this equality of outcome shit, you will continue to see the absolute garbage that is being rehashed and rehashed every single year in the entertainment industry.
About how much space white people take up on a sidewalk.
Somebody should talk about how much space white people take up on the sidewalk. Okay.
Let's just talk about the elephants who walk that take up the amount of space on a sidewalk. How about that? Because just because they're a white person doesn't mean they're taking up space. Now, if they're a wide person, then yes, they're taking up space. And, you know, that's just poor life decisions at that point.
I feel like even with the least spatially aware black or brown person, white people possess even less spatial awareness. Anytime there's somebody in my way here in Chicago, it is a white person. And I wonder if this lack of spatial awareness has led to all of the white women who are claiming Chicago's like really unsafe for them. They've had all these scary things happen. Because in my opinion, if you lack spatial awareness, you don't even understand how people are perceiving you.
Okay. So there's a lot of white people, a lot of white women saying that Chicago is not safe anymore. Let's have a look at the Chicago crime statistics. The violent
Chicago has a lot of crime.
crime rate in Chicago is 5.38% per 1,000 residents, way higher than the national average. Okay, is that because white people aren't moving on?
I think, if I remember correctly, I think Chicago is the murder capital of the United States.
The sidewalk, or is that because there's far too many guns and there's far too many bad people out there? Is that the reason, or is it the sidewalks?
Just to make sure I'm crystal clear.
I'll say this, not because there's too many guns, it's because there's too many bad people who just don't have a good mindset.
When I say this, I am not by any means blaming women for what is happening.
Important, because you can attack white people, but don't attack, you can attack white women, but not women. Just remember that.
This is, of course, a man's problem, but as...
Of course, yes. Let's blame all men, and especially let's blame all white men because white men are the devil. For some reason I just water boy came into my mind when I said that.
Women, we have to be spatially aware. We need to know 100% how the people around us are perceiving us at all times if you want to be safe.
I show this in every single video that has something to do with TikTok. This is the problem with social media. We are listening to people who for thousands of years should never have been listened to, and now we're hearing them. And it makes you think, oh my God, the world's insane. The world is insane, no doubt, but not as insane as this person. But the fact that people actually think like this, that's fucked up. And that's what you're seeing in universities and colleges, and these are the young people that are coming through, which should terrify all of us. Now, you may still not believe me that there is a lot of hatred against white people out there. Look no further than one of the leaders of the BLM. Whites are subhuman with genetic defects. Interesting. Whiteness is not humanness. In fact, white skin is subhuman X.
Why are you putting X in human? Is she trying to censor the word human?
Is there an X in there? All phenotypes.
I don't get that. What the? It's about as weird as people doing Latin X for the female. For the females, it's just like, you mean Latinas? Why is it Latin X? Just say Latina. That is female, and Latino is male.
Exist within the black family, and white people are a genetic
phenotype. What the fuck is a phenotype? Let me look that up. I don't think I've heard of phenotype. Let's see here. Phenotype. The term phenotype refers to the observable physical properties of an organism. These include the organism's appearance, development, and behavior. An organism's phenotype is determined by its genotype, which is the set of genes the organism carries, as well as by environmental influences. Huh. That's, okay. Oh, okay, here's a human phenotype. Phenotype refers to an individual's observable traits, such as height, eye color, and blood type. A person's phenotype is determined by both their genomic, that's how you say it? Makeup or genotype, and environmental factors. Oh. All phenotypes exist within not just black families, in every single fucking race. What the hell's wrong with you?
genetic defect of blackness, okay?
Okay. It is not a genetic defect. Like I've said before, the only reason there are different skin colors is because of hundreds of thousands of years ago, all of human race was in one area, and that it was Africa, which is why it's known as the cradle of life. Now, over time, the human race migrated north, south, east, west, all over the world. And over hundreds of thousands of years, people's skin started to change because not everyone got the same amount of melanin in their skin. So that's why there are different colors of skin, is because of migration and evolution.
Okay, white people have a higher concentration of enzyme inhibitors that suppress melanin production.
White people have a higher concentration of enzyme inhibitors. I don't even know if that's true.
That is very, very important, by the way. But that's the only difference between white people and black people is melanin. Anyway, melanin is present at the inception of life. Melanin is directly
is present at the inception of life. Okay. Melanin is directly linked to fertility and the human reproductive system. No, it's not. It's not.
Yada yada. Lots of different.
Melanin is directly linked to strong bones. No, it isn't. Get your fucking facts right. Melanin is directly linked to the strength of the nervous system. Again, no, it's not.
Melanins, and that's what you're saying because
melanin is directly linked to the strength of senses such as vision and hearing. Again, no, it's not. You know, if you're gonna spout biological facts, at least get your fucking facts right. Otherwise, you're gonna look like a complete dumbass. Melanin is directly linked to the strength of neurosystems affecting capacities like intelligence, memory, and creativity. Again, no, it's not. Melanin enables black skin to capture light and hold it in its memory mode, which reveals the blackness converts light into knowledge. I feel like I'm getting dumber just reading this.
Because white people have less melanin, they're subhuman. Cool, mate. So beautiful, loving, and uber progressive.
Why do so many white people get on podcasts, get on TikTok, and talk about how their children don't bathe or how they don't bathe?
What? I'm sorry, what? I'm white and I take a shower every day. Because I have a physical labor job. I need to take a shower every day. Otherwise I start to feel disgusting.
I feel like there's something to discuss here about whiteness and how it is viewed as clean and pure and better and...
If you think whiteness equates to being pure and better and cleaner and whatever dumbass word comes into your mind, are you okay? Do you need help? Do you need therapy? Because you need to go back to fucking school.
Primary and default, and really the history goes to show that white people have always been disgusting.
Okay.
Indigenous people, African people, they were bathing, and they many of them noted that the first sign of Europeans was their stench, that they were just putrid.
What a weird video to make. It's got 65,000 likes too.
And I do think a lot of the reason why people of color in America are so clean, smell so good, have to have their hair done, have to have their makeup done, is because of upward mobility.
So white people are allowed to smell, black people aren't.
Another reason why people like her should not have access to the internet or to social media.
White women can just walk into Target with a messy bun and sweatpants, and it's like, oh, look at her, she could be a multi-millionaire. Her husband could be an entrepreneur. Yet a black woman is not afforded that same luxury.
Is that true? I don't spend that much time at Target.
So I really feel like white women are just rubbing that level of privilege in when they go on.
She does realize she's also white, right? Is she not self-aware of her own skin color? Once again, your skin color does not equate to anything other than the fact that you have more or less melanin than average or than whatever else.
Podcasts or come on TikTok and talk about how their kids don't bathe.
You should bathe your kids. We probably don't need to bathe as much as we do. A little bit of stank is not too bad. Don't get me wrong, I bathe every day. Well, I have a shower every day, particularly after the gym and stuff. But isn't that what most people do? Although when a baby is born, you're not supposed to bathe them as quickly as they once did. You're supposed to let all the shit they're covered in, let it seep into the skin. It helps with their immunity and all that, and probably moisturizes something else. I don't fucking know. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But you're not supposed to bathe children as much. But if they're dirty, you bathe them, right? If you're dirty, you bathe.
That is disgusting. I'm sorry. I grew up taking a bath every single night. My parents
Congratulations.
Every single night, brush my hair every
What
single
are you
morning.
talking about?
It wasn't that big of a deal.
I'm just going to leave that one right there. That's the R word. That's what that is.
When people watch The Hate You Give, what do you want them to walk away with?
This is Old Love from the new Star Wars series, Acolyte. Acolyte?
Because I know everyone...
I've heard Acolyte getting so much shit because of how horrible it's being.
Talking about white people.
Especially when they came out with the lesbian cult doing Force Babies or whatever it was. I haven't seen a single episode of this. I refuse to. I don't care. The first 6 Star Wars movies are the only ones I actually really care for.
People being upset because the Star Wars is just shit.
I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Again, if you changed, you know, obviously it's a joke, but if you changed the colour of skin of people in that joke, you would be in a lot of trouble. And I think that's a problem. I think you should be able to make jokes like that, just you should be able to make them in any direction. And the crowd applauds. Very good. Lovely. It's a rough old world out there for us poor whiteys.
White boy says, I had to wait in line at Starbucks today, so I know about oppression. White boy retweets NPR and watches Jeopardy for fun. White boy won't admit it, but he likes...
The only people I've known watch Jeopardy for fun are old people. Like my grandpa, who sadly has passed away. But yeah, it's just people of like the boomer generations. Like they're like the only ones I really know that watch Jeopardy for fun or Wheel of Fortune.
it when you get the answer wrong. Likes the feeling of knowing just a little bit more than you do. White boy listens to indie music and paints his life a 500 days of summer shade of mope.
Could you imagine being this fucking insane?
White boy is glad Green Book won the Oscar and not glad that Trump is the president. Not glad, but safe. Happy to know he will not have to live in a world where white people are the minority. White boy says, aren't you white?
White people are actually slowly, very slowly starting to become the minority.
White boy says he
I'm not sure about here in America, but there are... I think here in America we are actually slowly becoming the minority.
knows all about brown people because of all the Spanish girls he's dated. Says real tacos have radishes on them. Says horchata is Mexican.
Jesus fucking Christ. What are you even doing? This is like an open mic night of my worst nightmares.
Titty milk, and I'm like, damn, I wish my titties were full of horchata. Or maybe I don't, because white boy would just set me up at a hipster cold brew coffee shop somewhere and start turning a profit while I bust my horchichis in another episode of cultural appropriation at its finest.
Imagine this pain and anger that are in these people's hearts. Like, this is genuine hatred, is what it is. And if you don't believe that, just change the colour of skin yet again. If you made this about anyone else, you would be shouted down, and rightfully so.
Brown mouth is dirty with every flip of my chingona tongue and every you shouted at the orange TV, pendejo. White boy thinks my brown mouth, my brown friends, my brown life is dirty.
Does he? Maybe one did.
Tell him that I am tied to this land, to my native Aslan tongue and the red dirt in my teeth.
I thought Aslan was the... Isn't that the... I bet I'm wrong, but in Auslan in Australia is the sign language in this country. So I'm glad to know that you do Auslan in America. That's weird.
My teeth. White boy responds by texting me a picture of a cartoon Pocahontas, naked ass out, standing next to John Smith, who is holding a looped belt, smiling. White boy says, JK, LOL. White boy thinks it'd be kinky if I said, colonize me, daddy.
There are people who are into race play.
I like that. I don't like that. That's just, I think that was funny.
White boy tells me this in a Tinder message, tells me he does not believe in privilege, meaning it is not a privilege to love me, not a privilege to hold me, or whisper in my ear. White boy just expects these things, just like his ancestors did.
Imagine having to deal with these sort of people on a daily basis. I would have had gray hair when I was 30 if I had to deal with this sort of shit on a daily basis. If I had to feel this way on a daily basis, I would have fucking gone insane. This woman needs therapy.
Boy says he could beat me at a job interview or a sport or a poetry slam. White boy says he could beat me.
I'm going to prescribe you with Lexapro fucking now. Oh my God. This is shit you tell a therapist, not post on TikTok.
White boy says I don't need your consent. I'm your boyfriend.
Well, that's fucking too.
He doesn't understand the word no since he is the only one who ever gets to say it.
Well, that's fucked. That's your poor choice in boyfriend.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people complain I over the internet I mainly hear women complain about it because that's the one that mainly gets posted and reposted. That they've had a few bad experiences and now they say all men are terrible, all men are horrible. No, bitch, just the choice in men that you have. You know, just the men that you've chosen are horrible because you seem to have a horrible choice in men. So, you know, learn to pick better.
An entitlement. His favorite movies are The Social Network and American Psycho. He jokes about luring me in like prey. Tells me about the way bunny rabbits are calm to stillness and forced to trust just before someone slides the skin off their small bodies. He tells me this.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with this dude?
With my hair. So I am splayed across his chest, wondering why I keep making the same mistakes over and over again. He's so comfortable with the way that history keeps repeating itself, and I just want to kick and push my way out of his palms. I am all bunny rabbit, heartbeat, and sudden will to live. White boy always leaves me hoping that I won't have to run away screaming this time. Leaves me wishing that he was better than...
This woman really seriously needs therapy. She needs help. And she doesn't realize that a lot of these dumbass things that have happened is because she chose wrong.
Than all of the men and mistakes before him. White boy says that he is already the best that there ever was.
Fuck off, ladies and gentlemen. That'll do. Be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. Be dick stings. I'm done. Bye.
Yeah, that lady needs some serious therapy. She needs help. I mean, she really needs help. All people like her, they need years of therapy to work out their problems. But that was the anti-white TikToks are crazy. Let me know what you all think of those TikToks. Let me know what you think of this anti-white, this anti-skin color sort of thing, rhetoric that goes around every single year of our lives. And what your thoughts are on racism and how you think racism could be stopped as a whole. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe for more. I post 3 days a week. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.